Listen closely. Right now, this very second, an angel is standing before the throne with a book so ancient, so sacred, that its pages shimmer with the breath of eternity itself. Your name just echoed through the courts of heaven, not whispered, not mentioned in passing, declared. But here's what will make your spirit tremble. The book is still open. The page is waiting. The pen of destiny hovers, trembling with divine electricity, and heaven is holding its breath for your response. This week is not just another week, beloved. This is a divine checkpoint, a sacred intersection where your earthly timeline collides with God's eternal plan. You've been asking for a sign, crying out in the quiet hours, wondering if He still sees you, if He still has a purpose for your life after everything you've endured. This is your sign. I can feel it even as I speak these words. Some of you are getting chills. Your spirit is recognizing something your mind can't yet comprehend. That's because heaven has been orchestrating this moment. Every heartbreak that brought you here, every lonely night that led you to seek Him, every unanswered prayer that taught you to listen deeper. You are not here by accident. The enemy wants you to scroll away. He wants you to dismiss this as just another video, just another voice in the digital wilderness. But your spirit knows better. Your soul is leaning in because it recognizes the frequency of home. If you are truly chosen and deep in your bones, you already know you are. You will not turn away from this moment. You'll feel the pull, the magnetic draw of destiny calling your name. Heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. Earth is waiting for your move. I need you to do something right now, something that will signal to the spiritual realm that you're ready to receive what God has been preparing for you. Type 777 the comments, not as superstition, but as a declaration. 7 is the number of divine completion, and heaven is completing something in you this very week. To everyone who's walked with this message through prayer, through sharing, through giving, you're not just supporting a ministry. You're partnering with heaven to reach someone sitting in the dark, someone whose name was just read aloud in the courts of glory. Now, breathe. Stay close, because what you're about to discover about your name being written in heaven's book, about the divine assignment waiting for you this week, has the power to rewrite everything you thought you knew about your purpose, your calling, and your future. The book is open. Your chapter is being written. This is your moment. Have you ever felt like God turned His back on you, like your prayers were bouncing off a brass ceiling while everyone else seemed to get their miracles on demand? Have you wondered if maybe, just maybe, you were never really chosen at all? Breathe, because what I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about divine timing. You've been walking through a battlefield thinking it was just Monday. You've been standing in the eye of a spiritual hurricane, mistaking the calm for abandonment. You thought the silence meant rejection. But beloved, it was divine protection. For months, maybe years, you felt stuck. Not moving forward, not moving back, just suspended, like you're watching life happen to everyone else while you're trapped behind invisible glass. They got the promotions, they got the healings, they got the breakthroughs. And you got the waiting room. But what if I told you something that would change everything? You weren't ignored. You were being incubated. Think about it. When a mother eagle is ready to hatch her young, she doesn't rush the process. She doesn't crack the shell because she's impatient. She protects it. She keeps it warm. She guards it fiercely, while the most crucial transformation of that eagle's life happens in the hidden darkness. That's been you. You were the one carrying fire in a world built for ice. You were the one speaking truth in a generation drunk on lies. You were the one holding light while everyone else celebrated the darkness. And because of that, because of who you are, heaven had to hide you, not to punish you, to prepare you. Listen to what God whispered through His prophet Isaiah. But now, this is what the Lord says. He who created you, He who formed you, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. By name, beloved, not by number, not by accident, by name. Your name has been echoing in heaven's halls while you thought you were forgotten on earth. Every tear you cried in secret, collected in heaven's bottles. Every prayer you whispered in the dark, recorded in heaven's books. Every moment you wanted to quit, but didn't, written in heaven's story of your unstoppable victory. But here's where it gets dangerous. Here's where the enemy starts to panic. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if your silence was sacred, not accidental? What if God wasn't teaching you patience but preparing you for a level of power that required this exact season of hiddenness? What if everything you thought was wrong was actually perfectly right? Time is running short. Chosen one, the incubation period is ending. The shell is cracking. And if you don't rise now, if you don't recognize this moment for what it is, what part of the world stays in darkness? What miracle gets delayed? What breakthrough waits another generation because the one who was supposed to carry it decided they weren't chosen after all? You feel it, don't you? That stirring in your bones, that restlessness in your spirit. That's not anxiety. That's not depression. That's the sound of heaven's alarm clock going off in your soul. The sleepwalk is over. Pause, breathe, listen. Close your eyes for just a moment. Can you feel it? Beneath all the noise, beneath all the doubt, beneath all the evidence that says you're ordinary, there's a whisper. It's God, and He's still calling you by name. He's saying, "The one I hid in the shadows. It's time to step into the light. The one I protected in the storm. It's time to calm the storms of others. The one I prepared in secret. It's time to be revealed in power." You've been sleepwalking through a spiritual fire, beloved. But fire doesn't destroy the chosen. It refines them. It purifies them. It transforms them into vessels so clean, so powerful, that heaven can pour through them without reservation. You thought you were breaking, but you were being remade. You thought you were failing, but you were being fortified. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being positioned for a comeback so powerful that hell itself will tremble when you finally understand who you really are. Say this aloud right where you're sitting. Let the words break the spell of ordinariness that's been cast over your life. I am not forsaken. I am being prepared. I am not forgotten. I am being positioned. I am not broken. I am being made ready for something. Heaven has been planning since before I took my first breath. The fire you've been walking through, it wasn't meant to consume you. It was meant to consume everything in you that isn't eternal, everything that isn't chosen, everything that isn't ready for the assignment heaven is about to release. Your name is written in heaven's book, beloved, not in pencil, in permanent ink, with the blood of the Lamb. And this week, this very week, that book is being opened to your page. But before God releases you into your full power, there's one more thing you must understand about why you felt so different, so isolated, so misunderstood. Have you ever wondered why your pain felt so sacred? Why your silence seemed to echo in chambers you couldn't see? Why even in your deepest isolation, something whispered that you were being watched? You were. While you slept last night, while you tossed and turned, wrestling with questions that have no earthly answers, your name was being spoken in heaven's courtroom. Not discussed, not debated, declared. Angels have been flipping pages, beloved. Ancient pages that shimmer with the light of eternity, waiting for you to step into the next chapter that's been written in your absence. You see, you've been living in the intermission of a divine drama. The curtain fell on Act 1 when loss walked through your door uninvited, when betrayal sat at your table, when the phone calls stopped coming, when the mirror reflected a stranger wearing your face. But heaven never stopped watching the stage. I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Isaiah 49:16 wasn't written for Sunday school walls, chosen one. It was written for Tuesday night tears, for 3 a.m. questions, for the moments when you felt like God had cosmic amnesia and forgot your address. He didn't forget. Your name isn't written in pencil on heaven's ledger. It's engraved, carved, permanent as the mountains, deeper than the ocean, more certain than tomorrow's sunrise. You think you've been invisible, but you've been incubating. That isolation you've endured, that wasn't rejection, that was divine preparation. Every person who walked away cleared space for who's walking in. Every door that slammed shut was God redirecting traffic toward your true destination. You were the one who carried fire in a world built for ice. Different, strange, the one who felt too much, saw too deep, loved too hard. They called you sensitive like it was a diagnosis instead of a divine design. But what if your sensitivity was your superpower? What if your capacity to feel was heaven's way of installing spiritual radar in your soul? Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That gentle trembling in your spirit? That's not anxiety, beloved. That's recognition. Your soul knows its name is being called from dimensions beyond your current understanding. God has not forgotten you. You are not background noise in the symphony of His creation. You are not the understudy waiting in the wings while someone else takes center stage. You are the headline of this season. Even when you lost yourself, when you couldn't remember who you were before the pain rewrote your story, heaven never stopped reading your name aloud. While you were busy becoming smaller, God was busy preparing something larger. While you were learning to hide, He was designing your reveal. The whisper has been constant, chosen one. In the wind that moves the curtains at dawn, in the stranger's unexpected kindness, in the song that plays at precisely the moment your heart needed its lyrics, in the number sequences that make you pause, in the dreams that feel more real than your waking hours. That's heaven's frequency. You've been hearing it all along, but grief turned down the volume. Disappointment changed the channel. Fear installed static between your soul and its source. But this week, this sacred stretch of 7 days, the signal is breaking through crystal clear. What if the delay wasn't divine cruelty but divine incubation? What if your silence was sacred preparation, not accidental abandonment? What if every tear you've cried in secret has been collected in golden vials that are now being poured out as supernatural favor? What if you're closer to breakthrough than breakdown? The enemy convinced you that hiding meant healing was impossible, that isolation meant insignificance, that being forgotten by people meant being forgotten by providence. That was a lie dressed up as logic. Your name has been echoing through heaven's halls while you've been questioning if you still belong anywhere. Angels have been standing at attention every time it's spoken. The courts of glory have been preparing for your next entrance, while you've been convinced you've been benched permanently. If you don't rise now, what part of the world stays in darkness? Because here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Your hiding place was actually your training ground. Your valley was your academy. Your wilderness was your war college, and you've been earning credentials in spiritual warfare without even realizing it. Every battle scar is a badge of honor. Every wound that healed wrong is proof that you're still breathing. Every day you chose to stay alive is a victory that made hell tremble. Whisper it to your soul. My name is written. My name is written. My name is written. Say it until your spirit stops arguing with heaven's truth. Say it until the echo reaches the broken places and they start to believe again. Say it until the sound waves rearrange the atmosphere around your life. Your name isn't just written, beloved. It's written in permanent ink on pages that don't yellow with time. It's written in a language that demons can't read, but angels sing as lullabies. And this week, heaven is ready to turn the page. But before God releases you into the fullness of what's been prepared, there's one thing standing between you and your supernatural breakthrough. One final revelation that will either elevate you into your destiny or keep you circling the same mountain for another season. Are you ready to discover what it is? Have you ever wondered why the attacks got stronger right when you started praying harder? Why the chaos intensified the moment you began seeking God's face? Why every step toward your calling felt like walking through spiritual quicksand? Chosen one, you've been under siege, but not for the reasons you think. You've been carrying this weight, haven't you? This crushing sense that maybe you're cursed, maybe you're forgotten, maybe the enemy targets you because you're weak, broken, unworthy of heaven's protection. You've whispered it in the dark. God, why won't you fight for me? But what if I told you the attack was never about your weakness? Picture this. In the corridors of eternity, there's a file with your name embossed in light, not a thin folder, a thick dossier. Page after page of assignments, destinies, breakthroughs that will cascade through generations. The enemy has seen this file, beloved. He's read every page. And he's terrified. Isaiah 43:1 thunders through the heavens. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Called by name. Not by accident, not by default, by divine selection. The spiritual interference you've been experiencing, it's not random, it's strategic. Hell has deployed its finest battalions against you because they know what heaven knows if you obey. This week, the chains snap for generations. Every time you felt that gentle nudge from God and hesitated, a page of your future remained blank. Every time you've heard his whisper and waited for a better moment, destiny held its breath. The enemy doesn't fear your past mistakes, chosen one. He fears your future obedience. You were the one they called too sensitive, too spiritual, too deep for this shallow world. They made you feel like your gift was a burden, your calling was crazy, your fire was too intense for their comfort zones. But God saw a warrior in the making. You were the one who carried fire in a world built for ice. And now hell is panicking because this week, this very week, heaven has scheduled your breakthrough, not just for you, but through you. The attack on your peace, your health, your relationships, your finances. It's a desperate attempt to stop what's coming. The war was never about your past, it was about the future your name is assigned to. Listen to me carefully. Close your eyes for just a moment. Can you feel it? That stirring in your spirit. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's anticipation. Heaven is preparing to move, and every demon in hell can sense the shift in the atmosphere. They've thrown everything at you. Doubt, fear, isolation, financial pressure, health scares, relationship chaos. But here's what they didn't count on. Every attack only proved how valuable you are to the kingdom. You don't attack what doesn't matter. You don't wage war against someone who poses no threat. The intensity of the battle is the measure of your importance to God's plan. Jeremiah 1-5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you." Consecrated, set apart, marked for purpose before your first breath. This week isn't just another week in your spiritual calendar. This is the week hell has been dreading, the week heaven has been orchestrating, the week your obedience rewrites not just your story, but the stories of people you haven't even met yet. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if your silence was sacred preparation, not spiritual abandonment? What if every closed door was God's way of preserving you for this exact moment? What if your greatest season of attack was actually your graduation ceremony? The enemy thought he was destroying you, but God was developing you. Every tear you cried in secret became a prayer that moved mountains. Every night you lay awake wondering if God still saw you became a vigil that shifted atmospheres. Every moment you felt forgotten became a foundation for an unforgettable testimony. But here's the revelation that will shatter every chain. The attack intensified because your moment of release is here. This week, when God whispers, you'll listen. When he nudges, you'll move. When he calls, you'll answer without hesitation. Because you finally understand your obedience isn't just about you. It's about the generations watching, waiting, depending on your yes. The file in heaven with your name, it's being opened this week. The assignments that have been held in divine escrow, they're being released. The breakthrough that hell has been fighting to prevent, it's breaking through anyway. This week, I will not delay. I will listen. I will obey. Because you've learned that God's whispers carry more power than hell's roars. His gentle nudges move more mountains than the enemy's violent storms. And your obedience, your simple, trusting, immediate obedience is the key that unlocks not just your destiny, but the destinies of countless others. The war over your obedience ends this week, chosen one, not because the enemy gives up, but because you finally understand who you're fighting for. And when you obey, generations win. But before we talk about the victory waiting on the other side of your yes, there's something else written in heaven's book about you that will take your breath away. Have you ever felt like you were on trial and nobody told you what the charges were? Like invisible eyes were watching, weighing, measuring every broken piece of your life? What if I told you that feeling was absolutely correct, but not in the way you think? Right now, this very moment, there's a courtroom session happening in the heavenly realms. The gavel hasn't fallen yet, the verdict isn't sealed, but your name is echoing through chambers of eternal justice, and every angel in attendance knows exactly why you're there. You've been feeling restless lately, haven't you? Like something stirring in your spirit that your mind can't quite capture. That's because your soul is already in the courtroom, beloved. Your flesh just hasn't caught up. Let me paint you the scene. Picture it. Throne room of the Most High. Light so brilliant it makes the sun look like a dying candle, and there, towering with authority that shakes galaxies, sits the judge. Not the harsh, condemning figure religion painted for you. This is the Father whose eyes burn with love so fierce it could melt every wall you've built around your wounded heart. To his right stands your advocate, Jesus, the one who knows every scar, every secret shame, every midnight tear you thought nobody saw. He's not pacing nervously like some rookie lawyer. He's standing with the confidence of someone who's already won the case. The angels, oh, the angels. They're not just witnesses, they're holding their breath, because what's about to happen in this courtroom will send shockwaves through every realm, seen and unseen, and then your scroll is unfurled. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Not your resume, not your mistakes, not the litany of failures the enemy keeps whispering in your ear during those 3 a.m. moments when sleep won't come. This scroll contains something that will make you weep with relief. It's the record of your becoming. Every time you chose love when hatred was easier. Every moment you whispered, "Help me," when pride wanted you to stay silent. Every day you got up when giving up felt like mercy. Every single act of faith, no matter how small, no matter how unnoticed, it's all here, written in ink that shimmer with heaven's approval. The judge leans forward. His voice doesn't boom, it doesn't thunder, it whispers with the tenderness of a father watching his child take their first steps. I have been preparing you. You thought the delays were rejection. You thought the silence meant abandonment. You thought the detours were punishment for some sin you couldn't remember committing. But what if? What if it was divine incubation? What if every closed door was protection from a path that would have destroyed you? What if every no was actually heaven saying, "Not yet, beloved. I'm still preparing the stage for your entrance"? What if your isolation wasn't abandonment, but sacred separation? Think about Esther, hidden in a palace for such a time as this. Think about Joseph, buried in a prison until the moment nations needed saving. Think about Moses, shepherding sheep in the wilderness until he was ready to shepherd God's people to freedom. You were being prepared. Pause, breathe, feel that. Close your eyes for just a moment. Can you sense it? That stirring in your chest, that electricity in the air around you. That's not anxiety, precious one. That's anticipation. Heaven's anticipation. Because the judge is about to speak your assignment. The court recognizes. Every demon in hell leans forward, hoping to hear condemnation. Every angel in heaven holds their breath, knowing they're about to witness vindication. And you sit there wondering if you're worthy of whatever's coming next. But Jesus, your advocate, he's smiling, because he knows what's written on that scroll. He knows what the Father is about to declare over your life. The chosen one who has been faithful in the furnace. The one who carried fire in a world built for ice. The one who held on to hope when hope held on to nothing. The gavel doesn't fall with judgment, it falls with purpose. Bang! And suddenly, every principality that's been assigned against your destiny starts trembling. Every obstacle that's been blocking your breakthrough starts cracking. Every door that's been sealed starts creaking open. This is your courtroom moment. Heaven isn't calling you to the stand to condemn you. Heaven is calling you to the stand to commission you, to officially, legally, eternally decree that your season of preparation is over. Your season of demonstration has begun. But here's the thing about divine courtroom sessions: you have to show up spiritually. Your body might be sitting wherever you are right now, but your spirit needs to rise and say, "Present Lord, here I am." Because if you don't answer this summons, if you let fear keep you seated when heaven is calling you to stand, if you let the enemy convince you that you're not qualified when the judge of the universe is about to declare you chosen, what part of the world stays in darkness because you refuse to shine? Who stays lost because you didn't answer the call to lead them home? The courtroom is waiting. Your advocate is ready. Your scroll is unrolled. The angels are holding their breath. All that's missing is your response. "Lord, I present myself. Judge me faithful." But what happens next in this divine courtroom session will determine not just your future, but the future of everyone whose life you're destined to touch. Have you ever wondered why you felt different your whole life? Why you carried fire in a world built for ice? Why their whispers followed you like shadows, telling you to dim your light, lower your voice, become smaller? They convinced you it was wisdom. It was sabotage. You were the one who saw miracles in everyday moments, the one who felt God's heartbeat in the silence, the one who carried prayers for strangers and dreams too big for your zip code. But somewhere along the way, their voices became louder than heaven's whisper. You're too sensitive, you're too different, you're reaching too high. And slowly, God, forgive us slowly, you began to believe them. You started walking with your head down, started apologizing for the light that made them uncomfortable, started hiding the very thing that heaven placed in you to illuminate the darkness around you. But listen to me, beloved. God never changed your assignment. While you were learning to make yourself smaller, heaven was making room for something bigger. While you were apologizing for being different, God was celebrating what made you chosen. While they were convincing you that you were average, the Almighty was writing your name in books they'll never see. Isaiah 43:1 says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Called by name. Not by their name for you. Not by the labels they stuck on your forehead when you were too young to fight back. Not by the limitations they wrapped around your dreams like chains. By the name heaven calls you. You know what that name is, don't you? Deep in your spirit, beneath all the noise, beneath all the doubt, you can still hear it. The name God whispered over you before you took your first breath. The name that makes demons tremble and angels stand at attention. But here's what will shock you to your core. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if your silence was sacred preparation, not accidental overlooking? What if every season that felt like burial was actually planting? What if you're not behind schedule, you're right on heaven's time? The voices that convinced you to shrink, they were terrified of what you'd become if you ever realized your true identity. They knew that if you ever connected with your calling, their counterfeit kingdom would crumble. They needed you to believe you were ordinary. They needed you to doubt your spiritual gifts. They needed you to think your best days were behind you. Because if you ever woke up to who you really are, the temperature rises, the atmosphere shifts, decades of chains start breaking, and suddenly the very people who told you to be quiet are begging you to speak. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? The whisper cutting through 5 decades of lies. It's God, and He's still calling you by name. The same name He called you at 7 years old when you felt Him in the backyard under the oak tree. The same name He called you at 17 when you just knew there was something more. He never stopped calling. You just got tired of not fitting in. So you learned to pretend you didn't hear Him. But pretending doesn't erase destiny, beloved. It only postpones it. God never removed your name from heaven's book. He only paused the chapter until your spirit caught up with your calling, until you got tired of living their version of your life, until you remembered that being different isn't a flaw, it's a feature. You've spent years thinking you missed your moment, believing that ship sailed when you turned 30, 40, 50, 60. But what if I told you that everything you think you lost is about to be rewritten by the hand of heaven? You're not starting over, chosen one. You're continuing what heaven never stopped writing. The gifts they told you to hide, God's about to amplify them. The dreams they said were too big, heaven's about to make room. The calling you buried under their expectations, It's about to resurrect with power they never imagined. This week, this very week, heaven is giving you permission to remember who you are, not who they said you were, not who you became to survive, not who you settled for to keep peace. Who heaven calls you, the one who carries fire, the one who sees what others miss, the one who was chosen before the foundation of the world to be different, to be set apart, to be a light in places where darkness thought it was safe. This week, you're going to do something that will shock everyone, including yourself. You're going to stop apologizing for taking up space. You're going to stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. You're going to stop hiding your gifts to avoid their jealousy. This week, you reclaim the name heaven calls you by. And when you do, when you finally, fully step into that identity, the world around you will shift. Not because you forced it, not because you fought for it, but because when heaven's chosen finally remember who they are, reality has no choice but to realign. But before God releases you into the fullness of your calling, there's one more truth that will shatter every limitation you've accepted about your future. Have you ever wondered why your fingerprints are unique among 8 billion people? Why your voice carries a frequency that has never existed before in human history? Why even your tears fall at angles that belong to you alone? What if I told you that's not biology, that's heaven's calligraphy? Chosen one, listen closely. Right now, as you breathe, as your heart beats its steady rhythm, something supernatural is happening in your cells. Your DNA isn't just a genetic code, it's a divine manuscript. Scientists can read the letters, but they cannot decode the author's signature woven into your very being. You are a living scroll, and the ink is glowing. I know you felt invisible, forgotten, like you were carrying a fire that no one could see, speaking a language that no one understood. You were the one holding light in a world built for shadows, the one who felt everything too deeply while others moved through life untouched. They called you sensitive. God calls you chosen. The isolation wasn't punishment, beloved. It was preparation. Every moment you stood alone was a moment heaven was writing something sacred into your spiritual DNA. Something that couldn't be corrupted by crowds, couldn't be diluted by applause, couldn't be stolen by the noise of a world that never understood your frequency. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. Before your first breath, heaven had already signed your soul. But here's what will stop your heart. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if every closed door was God saying, "Not yet, the masterpiece isn't finished"? What if your silence was sacred preparation for a voice that will soon shake nations? The world taught you to apologize for your depth. Heaven taught you to treasure it. Time is accelerating now. If you don't rise this week, what part of the world stays in darkness? If you don't speak, whose heart remains unhealed? If you don't step into the light, who keeps stumbling in shadows that you alone were designed to illuminate? Your cosmic signature isn't just written in heaven's book, it's branded into the fabric of eternity itself. Pause. Breathe. Close your eyes for just a moment. Can you feel it? That trembling in your spirit? That's not anxiety, beloved. That's recognition. Your soul remembering what your mind forgot. You are not just flesh walking through time. You are a divine message written in living ink, a love letter from God to a world desperate for His touch. You don't have DNA. You are divine narrative architecture. Every cell in your body carries frequencies that earthly science cannot measure. Your nervous system doesn't just process information, it processes heaven's whispers. Your bloodstream doesn't just carry oxygen, it carries the breath of the Almighty, circulating purpose through every fiber of your being. The scars you thought diminished you, they're God's edit marks, perfecting the manuscript of your life. The tears you shed in secret, heaven collected everyone, turning salt water into liquid prayers that moved the heart of the Father. You've been branded not for fame, but for fulfillment. Look at your hands right now. Those aren't just fingers, they're divine instruments, designed to touch what others cannot reach, to heal what others cannot see, to build what others cannot imagine. Your eyes don't just see the physical realm, they're windows between heaven and earth. designed to glimpse the invisible and make it visible to those who've lost their sight. You don't need to write your legacy. You are the legacy heaven is writing into time. This week, not next month, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances align this week. The cosmic signature embedded in your spirit is activating. The divine blueprint encoded in your DNA is downloading new instructions. The sacred manuscript of your life is being illuminated with fire that cannot be extinguished. Your name isn't just written in heaven's book. Your name is the book. Every chapter of pain was preparation. Every verse of victory was validation. Every line of loss was leading to this moment when heaven says, "Now, rise, shine." The world is waiting for the light only you can carry. The ink is glowing brighter now. Can you see it? In the spirit realm, your name is burning like fire on parchment, visible to angels, terrifying to demons, beautiful to the Father who penned every letter with the precision of perfect love. This week, I align with the design encoded in my spirit. Say it out loud. Feel the words activate something ancient in your soul. You're not just making a declaration, you're downloading heaven's blueprint for your breakthrough. You're not just speaking words, you're releasing the cosmic signature that hell has been trying to keep hidden. But what happens when a living scroll finally understands it was never meant to stay closed? Have you ever wondered why God's voice seems to come in whispers instead of shouts? Why He chooses the broken over the beautiful? Why your deepest wounds became your most sacred scars? Listen closely, chosen one. You've been standing at the edge of something extraordinary for weeks now, maybe months. You've felt it stirring in your spirit, that restless knowing that change is coming. But here's what heaven needs you to understand. This week is not just another week. This is what the ancient Greeks called kairos, divine time, breaking into ordinary time. A sacred window that opens with the breath of eternity and closes with the precision of heaven's perfect timing. And right now, beloved, you are standing in that window. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. Those aren't just beautiful words written for someone else. Those words were carved into the foundation of creation with your name attached. Before your first heartbreak, God knew. Before your first loss, He had already prepared the restoration. Before you ever felt forgotten, your name was engraved on the palms of His hands. But here's the part that will make your spirit tremble. God isn't begging. He's not chasing you down with desperate pleas or manipulative tactics. He's not competing for your attention with the noise of this world. Instead, He's whispering. And only the spiritually awake, only those who have learned to listen with their hearts instead of their heads will hear Him. You are one of those people. That's why you're still here. That's why something in your spirit won't let you scroll away. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if every closed door was heaven's way of saying, "Not yet, beloved. I'm preparing something bigger"? What if your silence was sacred, not accidental? What if the world has been waiting for you to rise? I can see you there, reading these words, feeling that familiar pull between hope and hesitation. Part of you wants to believe. Part of you is terrified to hope again after so much disappointment. But beloved, what if your hesitation is the very thing keeping the world in darkness a little longer? Because here's what heaven showed me. You are not just chosen for your own healing. You are chosen to be the light that guides others out of their caves of despair. Your resurrection is meant to spark theirs. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That stirring in your chest, that quickening in your spirit. That's not anxiety, that's recognition. Your soul recognizing the frequency of home, the divine DNA within you, responding to the call of its creator. God is still calling you by name, not the name the world gave you, scarred, broken, forgotten, but the name heaven has always known, victorious, chosen, beloved. But beloved, I need you to understand something that will determine whether you step into this calling or watch it pass by. This instruction will not repeat. Heaven operates on divine schedules, not human convenience. When God says now, He means now. When He opens a door, it's not meant to stay open indefinitely. The same divine timing that brought you to this moment will carry this opportunity to someone else if you choose to wait. This is your Kairos moment. Not next month when you feel more ready. Not next year when your circumstances look different. This week, these 7 sacred days when heaven is poised to move on your behalf in ways that will leave you breathless. I'm not here to pressure you. I'm here to warn you. The same way a lighthouse warns ships of dangerous rocks ahead. The same way a loving parent warns a child before they step into traffic. If you delay, if you hesitate, if you choose comfort over calling, the window closes, the divine download gets rerouted. The healing that was meant to flow through you finds another vessel, and you'll spend the rest of your life wondering, what if? But if you rise, if you say yes to the impossible, yes to the uncomfortable, yes to being used by heaven in ways you can't yet comprehend, then everything changes. Your pain becomes purpose. Your wounds become wisdom. Your silence becomes a sacred song that helps others find their voice. Lord, I hear you. I won't hesitate. Say those words, beloved, not just with your mouth, but with your whole being. Let them echo through every cell, every memory, every broken place that's been waiting for permission to heal. Because on the other side of your yes is a life so rich, so full, so divinely orchestrated, that you'll wonder how you ever lived without this level of heaven's presence. The book is still open. The pen is still poised. Your name is still echoing through the courts of glory. But this week, these 7 sacred days, this is when you must decide. Will you step into the unfolding? Will you trust the whisper? Will you let heaven rewrite your story with the ink of miracles? The choice is yours, chosen one. But the window is closing. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered when you became a stranger to yourself? When did the fire in your eyes dim to embers? When did your dreams start feeling like distant echoes from someone else's life? Listen closely, chosen one. You've been living under the greatest lie the enemy ever whispered into human consciousness. The lie of decline. The lie that says your best days are behind you. The lie that your name in heaven's book is written in fading ink. But heaven has decreed something else entirely. You've watched your body change, felt your energy wane, seen the world around you speed past while you felt left behind in the slow lane of existence. You've believed the narrative that aging means diminishing, that growing older means growing smaller. What if I told you that's not God's design? What if every wrinkle you despise is actually a map of wisdom earned? What if every gray hair is a crown of experience that heaven recognizes as royalty? What if your so-called decline is actually the universe preparing you for the greatest plot twist of your life? Your name, your precious, sacred name, carries a vibration that science is only beginning to understand. Every time heaven speaks your name, it sends frequencies through the cosmos that reverse what the world calls inevitable. Your name isn't just a label. It's a healing frequency. It's a restoration code. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. Before the first cell divided in your mother's womb, God was already reversing the curse of decay over your life. You think you're growing old, beloved, but let me shatter that illusion with divine truth. You are not growing old. You are growing eternal. Every breath you take is not counting down. It's counting up. Up toward glory. Up toward the revelation of who you really are. Up toward the moment when heaven's investment in your life pays the dividends it was always meant to pay. The world taught you to fear your age, but God designed your age to be your advantage. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That stirring in your spirit. That's not nostalgia, precious one. That's not wishful thinking. That's your cellular memory, responding to the sound of your name being called by eternity itself. Your DNA was never programmed for decay. It was programmed for renewal. Every 7 years, your body completely replaces itself. Every cell you have right now wasn't there 7 years ago. You are literally a walking miracle of regeneration. But here's where science meets the sacred. When God speaks your name, He's not just calling you, He's reprogramming you. He's sending a signal to every cell, every organ, every system in your body that says, remember your original design. remember your eternal blueprint. You've been feeling tired because you've been fighting the wrong battle. You've been trying to hold on to youth when God wants to give you something infinitely better. He wants to give you timelessness. The fountain of youth isn't a place, beloved. It's a person, and that person is Jesus Christ flowing through your veins, breathing through your lungs, thinking through your mind. What if your greatest comeback isn't behind you? What if your most productive years aren't in your rearview mirror, but stretching out before you like a golden highway? What if heaven has been preparing you for this exact moment, this exact season, when your experience meets divine empowerment? Moses didn't part the Red Sea until he was 80. Abraham didn't father a nation until he was 100. Sarah didn't give birth to promise until she was 90. Caleb claimed his mountain at 85 and said, "I'm as strong today as I was 40 years ago." Age wasn't their limitation. It was their launching pad. And right now, in this very moment, God is looking at your life and saying the same thing. He said about Abraham, "I will bless you and make your name great." Not was great, not used to be great, will be great. You are not fading, precious one. You are ascending, and heaven is confirming it through your glow. That glow isn't makeup. It's not good lighting. It's the radiance of someone whose name is being read aloud in heaven's throne room. It's the luminescence of someone whose story God is rewriting in real time. Every morning when you wake up, heaven is saying, "This is not your last chapter. This is your greatest chapter." Every evening when you lay your head down, eternity is whispering, "Tomorrow, I'm revealing more of who you really are." You've spent so much time grieving the person you used to be that you've missed the magnificent person you're becoming. You've mourned your youth when God has been clothing you in His glory. The reversal is not coming, beloved. The reversal is here. Your name was written for glory, not for decay, for increase, not for decrease, for momentum, not for retirement, for impact, not for invisibility. Can you receive this? Can you accept that the God who flung stars into space and carved mountains with His breath has been saving His best work in you for right now? Can you believe that your name in heaven's book isn't written with disappearing ink, but with liquid fire that gets brighter with every passing day? I accept the divine reversal. Say it with me. I step into youth, purpose, and power. I am not declining. I am ascending. My name is written for glory, and today I claim what heaven has always seen in me. The universe is about to confirm what eternity has always known. You are not too old. You are perfectly timed. You are not too late. You are right on schedule. And your greatest story starts now. Have you ever stood at the edge of your own story and wondered if the next chapter would ever come? Have you whispered into the darkness, begging heaven to just turn the page? What if I told you that the pen has been in your hand all along? Listen, chosen one. Listen with more than your ears. There's something happening in the spiritual realm right now that will make your soul tremble with recognition. Angels are standing at attention. Seraphim have fallen silent. The very air around the throne is electric with anticipation, because there's one page left in your book, and heaven won't turn it without you. You've been the one carrying fire in a world built for ice. The one who felt too much when everyone else felt too little. They called you sensitive. They called you different. They called you broken. Heaven calls you chosen. For 50, 60, 70 years, you've been writing your story in pencil, erasing more than you've kept, believing that somehow your chapters weren't worthy of permanent ink. You've lived like a rough draft when God always intended you to be the final manuscript. But here's what the enemy never wanted you to discover. Every mark you tried to erase, God preserved in glory. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. The prophet Jeremiah heard these words echo through eternity. And tonight, they're echoing through your living room, your kitchen, your sleepless bedroom at 3 a.m. You were never an accident. You were never a mistake. You were an assignment written in the stars before the first star learned how to shine. But here's the warning that's going to shake the very foundation of your faith. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if your silence was sacred, not accidental? What if every tear you cried in secret was collected in heaven's jar, and now right now that jar is being poured out as anointing oil over your future? The clock is ticking, beloved, not toward death, but toward destiny. If you don't rise now, what part of the world stays in darkness? If you don't speak now, whose healing gets delayed? If you don't move now, whose miracle gets postponed? Heaven has been holding its breath for you to say yes. Close your eyes for just a moment. Feel it. That stirring in your chest, that ancient recognition, that's not anxiety, precious one. That's your spirit recognizing the frequency of home. That's your soul remembering why it came to earth in the first place. Can you feel it? The whisper. It's God, and He's still calling you by name. Not the name they gave you when you were born, not the name they called you when you failed, not even the name you call yourself when you're afraid. The name He spoke over you before time began. The angels know this name, the demons flee from this name. And right now, this very second, this name is being written with fire across the final page of your earthly assignment. But here's the mystery that will leave you breathless. Heaven will not force your name into destiny, but it is offering you the pen this week. This week. Not next month when you feel more ready, not next year when you think you're more worthy. This week. Because there are people praying for a miracle who don't even know your name yet. Because there are hearts breaking who need to see your light. Because there are storms raging that only your peace can calm. You are not the victim of your story, chosen one. You are the author of your next chapter. The page is trembling. Can you see it? In the spiritual realm, there's a page so white it hurts to look at, so pure it reflects the very glory of God. It's been waiting for you to stop running from your calling, waiting for you to stop hiding from your purpose, waiting for you to stop believing the lie that your best days are behind you. Your best days are on that page. The pen is raised. The angels are holding their breath. Heaven itself has gone silent because this moment, your moment, is so sacred that all of eternity wants to witness what you're going to write next. Will you write surrender? Will you write yes? Will you write, Lord, I'm tired of running from the greatness you placed inside me? Because if you do, if you take that pen with trembling hands and write your yes across that sacred page, acceleration begins. Not slowly, not gradually, acceleration. Everything you thought was lost gets redeemed. Everyone you thought forgot you suddenly remembers. Every door you thought was closed forever begins to creak open. The enemy has been terrified of this moment. He's thrown everything at you: sickness, loneliness, rejection, failure, hoping you'd give up before you reach this page. But you're still here. You're still breathing. You're still believing. And that terrifies hell itself. So here's your moment, precious one. Here's your divine intersection. Here's your burning bush, your Damascus road, your empty tomb. The page is waiting. The pen is in your hand. Heaven won't turn it without you. Lord, I say yes. Write my next chapter through my surrender. Say it, whisper it, cry it, scream it into the darkness until the darkness becomes light. Because the moment you do, the moment you release those words from the depths of your soul, the greatest chapter of your life begins, and heaven finally gets to turn the page. Do you remember the last time you had a dream that felt like a message? When sleep became a doorway and heaven whispered secrets your waking mind couldn't hold? Or have you forgotten what it feels like to close your eyes and see tomorrow painted in colors that don't exist yet? Chosen one, listen to me carefully. You were born with the eyes of a seer. Before the world taught you to doubt, before trauma taught you to shut down, before disappointment convinced you that visions were just wishful thinking dressed up as spirituality. You used to dream in prophecy. You used to wake up with your heart racing because God had just shown you something that hadn't happened yet. But somewhere along the way, maybe after the third heartbreak, maybe after the diagnosis, maybe after you buried someone you thought would live forever, you stopped believing that heaven still spoke in dreams. You've been living in someone else's footnotes, but God is calling you back into authorship. The enemy didn't just steal your joy. He didn't just steal your peace. He stole your ability to see beyond Tuesday. He convinced you that survival was enough, that getting through the day was victory, that small dreams were safer than the God-sized visions that used to set your soul on fire. But here's what the thief couldn't touch, beloved: the blueprint, the original design, the DNA of destiny that God encoded in your spirit before time began. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. Close your eyes. Can you feel it stirring? That thing inside you that used to leap when God spoke. That part of your spirit that recognized the voice of the eternal, even when the world was screaming. It's waking up. God is awakening the seer in you, not the fortune teller, not the crystal ball mystic, the biblical seer, the one who sees with heaven's eyes, the one who dreams God's dreams and wakes up with blueprints for breakthrough. You thought those visions died when life got hard. You thought prophetic dreams were a luxury you couldn't afford when you were just trying to survive. But what if those dreams were never about your comfort? What if they were about God's plan to use you as a bridge between what is and what could be? The dreams you thought died in your youth were only sleeping, and they've just been called by name. Right now, as I speak these words, something ancient is stirring in your spirit. You can feel it, can't you? That familiar electricity, that sense of standing on the edge of something bigger than yourself, that recognition that you were made for more than maintenance mode. Heaven is returning the pen to your hand, not to rewrite your past that's been redeemed, but to co-author your future, to dream forward, to see with God's eyes what He's preparing in the unseen realm. You're not just remembering who you are, you're dreaming forward. Picture this with me. You're standing before the pages of your own book in heaven. The chapters of pain are there, but they're not the end of the story. They're the character development, the plot that was necessary to prepare you for what's coming next. And God, the author of all authors, hands you the pen. He doesn't erase what was written. He says, now we write the rest together. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if every year you spent in the wilderness was God preparing you to lead others out of theirs? What if every night you cried yourself to sleep was God downloading compassion into your DNA? What if every dream deferred was being refined in heaven's workshop, waiting for the perfect moment to be released? This week, this very week, heaven is restoring your ability to dream with authority, not hope-so dreams, not maybe, someday dreams, prophetic dreams, God-breathed dreams, dreams that shake hell and activate heaven. Write again, dream again, believe again. The visions that trauma shut down are being rebooted by divine decree. The prophetic gifting that disappointment buried is being resurrected by the breath of the Almighty. The seer that the world told you was too sensitive, too weird, too much, that seer is being called back to active duty. God needs your eyes, beloved. He needs your dreams. He needs your ability to see beyond the crisis to the breakthrough, to see beyond the diagnosis to the healing, to see beyond the loss to the restoration. This week, record the vision. Heaven is listening. Don't let another prophetic download slip away because you thought it was just your imagination. Start writing, start recording, start paying attention to what God shows you in the in-between moments. That flash of insight during your morning coffee, write it down. That sudden knowing that someone needs prayer, act on it. That vision of breakthrough that comes just before you fall asleep, capture it. You're not losing your mind, chosen one. You're finding your mission. The fire in your bones is not anxiety, it's anticipation. God is about to release you into a season of supernatural sight. You'll see doors before they open. You'll sense shifts before they happen. You'll dream solutions before problems are even recognized. But before God fully activates this gift in your life, there's one final preparation your spirit needs. One last area where heaven needs to do deep work. One more layer of fear that needs to be stripped away so you can walk in the fullness of your prophetic calling. Are you ready for God to show you what that is? Have you ever wondered why your pain felt different? Why your suffering cut deeper than others seemed to bear? Why your heart broke in places that never seemed to heal quite right? What if I told you there was a reason? Chosen one, I need you to lean in close, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie you've believed about your story. Every narrative that painted you as damaged goods. Every whisper that convinced you that you were too broken, too scarred, too far gone. You didn't just survive your pain, you were initiated by it. See, the enemy has been selling you a counterfeit story. He convinced you that every betrayal was evidence you weren't worth keeping, every abandonment proof you weren't worth staying for, every loss confirmation that heaven had forgotten your address. But heaven doesn't make mistakes. Heaven makes masterpieces. You were the one carrying fire in a world built for ice, the one speaking truth in a culture addicted to comfortable lies, the one who felt everything while everyone else learned to feel nothing. They called you too sensitive, too deep, too much. They were wrong. You weren't too much. You were being prepared for more. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. Listen to those words. Roll them around in your spirit like sacred stones. God didn't just know about you. He set you apart, marked you, designated you for something the casual believer could never carry. The ashes you carried were ink for heaven's manuscript. Every tear that fell in the darkness, sacred writing fluid for the story only you could tell. Every night you thought you wouldn't make it. Divine classroom where your faith learned to breathe underwater. Every betrayal that left you gasping. Surgical removal of everything that wasn't truly yours to carry. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if your silence wasn't being ignored but being honored as holy ground where God does his deepest work? What if your isolation was actually insulation? See, most people can't handle the frequency you operate on. The spiritual voltage running through your system would short-circuit their comfortable little lives. So heaven placed you in protective isolation, not as punishment, as preparation. You've been in the wilderness, but wilderness isn't wasteland. Wilderness is where prophets are born, where voices are purified, where the chosen ones learn to hear heaven's whisper above the world's roar. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe. Can you feel it? That stirring in your bones, that trembling in your spirit. That's not anxiety, that's awakening. That's your true identity remembering itself. That's the prophecy hidden in your pain beginning to unfold like a rose made of starlight. What wounded you was never meant to kill you, it was coded to reveal you. Every scar is a scripture. Every break was a breakthrough waiting to happen. Every place you thought you died, that was just the old you making room for the real you. The you that heaven had in mind from the very beginning. The same hand that wrote your name in the book of life never let go of your scars. He held them, blessed them, transformed them into credentials for a calling most people couldn't comprehend. You thought your pain disqualified you. It actually qualified you. You thought your brokenness made you unusable. It made you irreplaceable. See, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And your equipment? It was forged in fire, shaped by suffering, refined by rejection, polished by pain. You are not a victim of your story. You are the vessel it was written through. Every chapter that made you cry, divine dictation for someone else's deliverance. Every plot twist that broke your heart, sacred preparation for someone else's breakthrough. Every valley you walked through, map-making for someone else's exodus. The prophecy hidden in your pain is this. What the enemy meant for evil, God has been weaving into the most beautiful tapestry of redemption the world has ever seen. Your scars aren't shameful, they're supernatural. Your wounds aren't weaknesses, they're weapons. Your brokenness isn't a bug in God's system, it's a feature in his design. Chosen one. We've walked together through sacred territory today. We've uncovered truths that heaven has been whispering to your heart for longer than you know. Let me remind you of what we've discovered together. Your name is not just written in heaven's book, it's written in permanent ink. No eraser can remove it. No failure can fade it. No pain can delete it. When God called you by name, he wasn't making a suggestion. He was making a declaration that echoes through eternity. The prophecy hidden in your pain isn't a cruel joke, it's a divine curriculum. Every tear, Every trial, every test has been preparing you for a purpose so profound that your human mind can barely contain it. You weren't broken by your experiences, you were being built by them. Your isolation wasn't abandonment, it was divine appointment. God placed you in the quiet spaces, not because He forgot about you, but because He was preparing something so sacred, so significant, that it required His undivided attention and yours. And here's what I need you to never forget. You are not walking this path alone. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Right now, as these words reach your ears, there are thousands of other chosen ones feeling this same stirring, this same awakening, this same holy restlessness that signals something magnificent is about to unfold. You are part of a global family of believers who understand what it means to carry fire in a world built for ice. God is not done with you. In fact, beloved, He's just getting started. The chapters you thought were endings, they were just intermissions. The pain you thought would kill you, it was labor pains for the birth of something beautiful. The silence you thought meant He wasn't listening, that was Him holding His breath, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal His masterpiece. There's a community here, right here, in these comments, right here in this digital sanctuary of people who see you, who understand your journey, who are ready to stand with you in prayer and belief. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. But let me ask you this. Now that you know who you really are, now that you've glimpsed the prophecy written in your pain, what are you going to do with this revelation? How will you step differently, knowing that heaven's eyes are upon you with love, not judgment? How will you speak differently, knowing that your voice carries the authority of the redeemed? I want you to tell us in the comments. Share what stirred in your spirit today. Drop a simple "I believe" if these words found the hungry places in your heart. Tell us what you're trusting God for, because when we declare His promises together, something powerful happens in the spiritual realm. And if this message reached into the depths of your soul and pulled out hope you thought was dead, please share it. There's someone in your circle, a friend, a family member, maybe even a stranger on your social media, who needs to know that their name is written in heaven's book too. They need to discover the prophecy hidden in their own pain. Don't let them walk another day thinking they're forgotten. Before you go, before you close this sacred space we've created together, let me pray over you. Let me speak life into those dry bones. Let me call forth the greatness that God has placed inside you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, I come before you now on behalf of every chosen one who has heard these words today. Lord, you see them not as they see themselves, but as you created them to be. You see past their scars to their significance, past their pain to their purpose, past their brokenness to their beauty. Right now, I ask you to settle deep into their spirits the unshakable truth that they are loved, they are chosen, they are appointed for such a time as this. Let every lie the enemy has whispered be silenced by the thunder of your truth. Let every wound become a window for your glory to shine through. Father, open the doors that no man can shut. Heal the hearts that have been hardened by disappointment. Restore the hope that has been deferred. Give them divine connections, supernatural opportunities, and holy appointments that remind them that you are still writing their story. Breathe new life into their dreams. Resurrect the visions that have been buried under pain. Give them courage to step into the calling that has been waiting for them. Let them feel your hand upon their shoulder, your whisper in their ear, your peace in their storm. And Lord, as they walk into this new chapter, surround them with your protection. Order their steps. Guard their hearts. Fill them with such an overflow of your love that they become fountains of hope for everyone they encounter. In the mighty name of Jesus, I declare that their best days are not behind them. They are ahead of them. Their greatest victories are not in their past. They are in their future. Their most beautiful chapters are not what they've read. They are what you're about to write. Amen and amen. Thank you, beautiful soul, for staying with me through this entire journey. Your presence here was not accidental. Your heart that remained open to receive was exactly what heaven was looking for. If this message has become a lifeline for you, please consider subscribing to this channel. not for me, but for the others who are still searching. Help us reach more chosen ones who need to discover their names are written in heaven's book. Help us build this community of believers who refuse to let each other walk alone. Remember, you are seen, you are loved, you are chosen. And your story, your beautiful, painful, powerful story, is just beginning. Until we meet again in this sacred space, walk in the authority of who you are, walk in the confidence of whose you are, walk in the certainty that your name is written in permanent ink in heaven's book. You are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, you are beloved. Go in peace.